Bill Bachman here once again for VicFirth.com. This hybrid is going to be the TaChaCha. So the TaChaCha is an onomatopoeia for... Oh, I guess I have to actually play it. Bill Bachman here for VicFirth.com. Today's hybrid is going to be the TaChaCha. The TaChaCha is an onomatopoeia for accent to flams that are sort of low is the idea. Using our stick heights accent tap, we'd have right, left, right, left, right, left, right. No problem, right? Sweet, what's next? Wait, to play them faster, that will not work. We're gonna have to modify the technique. Now let me just tell you, this one, it's kind of all messed up. This is one of the harder hybrids around. It requires a lot of finger control, a lot of arm control too, because we need to use some of the molar motions. So here's what they look like up at a sort of normal tempo. All messed up, right? So I'm doing a combination of molar stuff and a whole bunch of finger control and a different pop within that. So let's see how we get there. First of all, the TaChaCha, I arrived at this common sense going through inversions. If you have the TaChaCha, which is here, which is I guess we call a standard hybrid rudiment. I don't know what that means, but we'll call it that. So here's a TaChaCha. If we move it back one, so instead of starting on the first partial, we go here. At this point, this has to flip back over there. So there's our TaChaCha. And I already did a video on that one. Check out that one. Now, if we move it one more time, everything slides back and we have a TaChaCha. So the kind of precursor to this is knowing your hand-to-hand flams with the molar whip and flop motion, okay? So, quick side note to get here. Here's your flam. Super basic fundamental rudiment. Now, if you play it faster using down, up, you start to tighten up and the whole thing dies because there's not enough time to lift the stick for that accent coming out of the grace note, and there's not enough time to stop the stick in order to flow into the next grace note. So if you look through VicFirth.com, you'll find another lesson I did on the 4 accent tap scenarios, and that really breaks down this motion. So make sure you check that one out. It'll give you a huge head start. So back to the hand-to-hand flam. To play it quicker, we need to use a molar whipping motion. So this is going to come from the forearm. So if any of you have ever played Billie Jean or a similar song, right, there's your hi-hat motion, molar, whip, and flop. That's what goes on. Right, if you play, it's going to come from the forearm with that motion. Now, just so you know, if you want to work on that and really study it and check it out, go to my drumworkout.com website where you can do 20-minute plus workouts with me, sticks in hand, playing along to really max out that whip and flop motion using the arms at all tempos. So we'll start nice and slow where you can get in the door and speed it up from there. So check that out. It's a great resource if you want a challenge where you can really make your hands match and learn those key hand motions that make it all work. So now, on our way to the TaChaCha, if we're playing hand-to-hand flams, using that molar whip and flop motion, which incidentally is incredibly loose, incredibly floppy with just dead hands, and you're barely holding onto the stick, mainly with that middle finger wrapped around. You don't need any finger control, so we don't want to micromanage with a fulcrum up at the front of the hand. So, once we're playing this, we somehow need to pop individual accents without flams higher than that already kind of mezzo floppy zone. So at that point, you add a little bit of extra arm, and there you go. And those flams do have to alternate, so it's a little bit tricky. So there's a lot of, it's kind of like there's this flowing forearm motion, and then there's a bit of a herky-jerk within that to get a bonus, slightly bigger accent without the flam on the downbeat. So if I do a bar of hand-to-hand flams and then a bar of TaChaChas, it'll look something like this. That's plenty weird. Now these do come at you pretty fast. Another good way you might want to kind of break it down, just to give yourself a little bit more flow time in between kicking that accent, is if you do sets of 5s. So you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So those are your groups of 5s. You have a little bit more time, so go nice and slow and really find that bigger whip on top of a whip. And that's going to teach you that motion. And then once you sort of get going, you can put them into sets of 3. And it's really hard to keep it a perfectly even set of da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, right? Because there's that tendency to... So you have to kind of be aggressive with that forearm whip in order to keep them rhythmically as accurate as possible. Good way to practice it is do a check of flam accents and then TaChaChas back and forth. Right? A little faster. And there is your TaChaCha. So learn them. You might be the only one on your block to be able to play them. But if you can get a whole bunch of guys doing it, next thing you know, you'll all be playing it together. And boy, will those be good days. So there you go. More hybrids for you. Practice hard, practice smart, and have fun with it.